Jack Kornfield, the Buddhist teacher, says, when love meets happiness, it becomes joy. I like that particular phrase. When love meets happiness, it becomes joy. Well, of course, we're in the third Sunday of Advent, and it's the Sunday for joy. So we'll be speaking about that today. It goes way back. Who knows how? There are many stories. A celebration that's now very popular in Nordic countries, Sweden particularly. It's called St. Lucy's Day. Anybody here ever hear of St. Lucy's Day? Well, somewhere it went through Italy, and it used to be St. Lucia's Day. Anybody know what Lucia means? The meaning of Lucia, that name? Or have a guess? Who said? Somebody said it. Light. Light. You're right, Claudette. A+. So it's a unique celebration. I don't know if anybody's been in Sweden, particularly at this time of year, but it's in the higher latitudes in Sweden and in other Nordic countries, and where we're up in the high latitudes, there's really only about 3 hours of light every day. The rest is darkness. In those places, seasonal affective disorder is often rampant. People are depressed, people are down. And in this context, St. Lucy's Day is celebrated. On St. Lucy's Day, a young woman or a girl from either the community or the school or whatever the organization might be is chosen, appointed, or elected to be Lucy. And Lucy will dress in a white robe with a big red sash and a crown of candles on her head. And those candles are lit. Now, I'm trying to figure out how they kept the hair from getting on fire, but they evidently pull it off. But this is an expression of, in the darkness, light returns. In the darkness, light return. In the downtime, joy emerges. St. Lucy's Day. We'll say a little bit more about it later. So, joy has been something of a perplexing term and experience for me throughout my life. Sometimes I don't know if I've experienced joy or not. So it was a challenge for me as I worked with this message, and I began, as I often do, by trying to look and find out how joy is defined. Well, if you go to Webster, it's going to say a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. But that doesn't seem quite enough for me. There's got to be something underneath that that's a little greater. And there is. I look to the Revealing Word, that book written by our co-founder Charles Fillmore, in which all of these words are given a metaphysical meaning. And the metaphysical meaning of joy is the happiness of God expressed through his perfect idea, man, or humans, or all of us, everybody. Let me say it again. The happiness of God expressed through us. That's what joy is. I like that idea of God happiness, is why that little unusual term is the title for this message today, the strength of God happiness. And I think that gets a little closer to it. And whether you use the word God, or whether you would say the happiness of all that is, or the happiness brought to me by source, God happiness, the term is not the important thing. Because for each of us, there may be a different term for God or the universe or all that is. I put together a key spiritual truth because I think there are 3 things that are really going to be helpful to us to become that expression of joy in the world, that expression of God happiness. And they happen to all be A's, so I have A's today. My 3 points are A's. Let me get to the first one. But keep spiritual truth first. Well, this will tell you. Acceptance, affirmation, and allowance pave the way to the experience of the strength of God happiness. Let me say it again. Acceptance, affirmation, and allowance pave the way to the experience of the strength of God's happiness. Well, let's go to acceptance. So easy for us to be disappointed or disenchanted by all that's happening in our world and in our society. So difficult, even that we don't meet up to our own expectations, to be content. To be content, to accept that, which our life is at that very moment. Lao Tzu, one of our great teachers from millennia ago, said, "Be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize nothing is lacking, the whole world belongs to you." Acceptance and contentment. Think of your own life. Are you accepting of those things that are in your life? Byron Katie, who is the person who brought to us the work, as it is called, wrote a book. That book's title is Loving What Is. Can we get to that place where we love what is, despite however we might pick it apart or feel like it's not right, it's unjust, it's just not right? Acceptance. I'd like to suggest that acceptance is the first step to being able to experience God happiness, joy. We can rail against things that don't seem right, but it just impedes the flow of joy. There's a story in the Hebrew Scriptures. As a matter of fact, the whole book in the Hebrew Scriptures called Nehemiah. Much of it is built around the story. It's written in about the 5th century BC. And that story goes somewhat like this. Israel had been besieged, and the city of Jerusalem, that sacred city, was just in wreckage, maybe similar to the wreckage that we see in Gaza today. The walls were torn down, the buildings were falling down. But Nehemiah had a vision. Even though the king that occupied them was still the one who was in charge, he got permission to go and rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. And so he gathered with him a cadre of people that were intent on, yes, knowing that this is what there is, but there's something more. I start with, yes, the walls are torn down, but there's potential beyond that. And so they went in that difficult situation, and they rebuilt the walls of the city of Jerusalem. This is what it's said in Nehemiah 8, verse 10. They didn't say, bemoan what's happening. They said, celebrate. Go your way, eat the fat, and drink sweet wine. Then they also said, give out. Send portions to them, to those for whom nothing is prepared. For this day is holy to our Lord. And do not be grieved, for the joy of the Lord is our strength. God happiness. Even though it seems in acceptance that it's almost a retreat, is strong. Joy is strong. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Unity Village. I want you to tell me if this appeals to you. Every spring and every fall, Unity Village has what they call a Nehemiah Week. And people who would like to go help rebuild, help maintain Unity Village, and it's beautiful, it's a landmark situation. They come for a week. Unity puts them up in the hotel. Unity feeds them. They only need to get transportation to get there. And they rebuild parts of Unity Village that have fallen into disrepair. It's a wonderful time because it's a joyful time as well. If you've ever been in a small setting among Unity people, you know that joy can emerge in the collective consideration of what is being considered. So if you'd like to do that, let me know. We'll arrange to go to Unity Village for Nehemiah Week to help rebuild things that are in disrepair. But it starts with acceptance. Here's how things are. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just the way they are. And I can love even in this situation. And I can express God happiness in the situation. And it transcends that. So first step, acceptance. Then we go on to the second step. Affirmation of truth as you know it. We talk a lot about affirmations at Unity. And we talk a lot about truth. We are often refer to ourselves as truth students. We're looking for the truth. We're not looking for a doctrine. We're looking for that truth that resonates with our very being, the divine within us, in our unique identity. We're looking for that. And when we find it, we affirm that truth. We affirm it over and over and over again, and it becomes a very part of us. So what's the truth for you? Of course, I'm talking about the truth of the goodness of God. I'm talking about that positive side of the ledger. What is the truth for you? If you were to list, boom, 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 a couple of things, what would be the truth for you? Are you affirming it regular? Is there something that draws you, but you need to affirm that? And that truth will become more and more real to you. There's also the truth that comes from memory, our experiences in life. We look back into our memory and we say, wow, that was an amazing time. That was an incredible experience that I had. And we savor that experience. Yesterday in Saturday's Soul Boost, I got a lot of ideas out of that. One of the ideas that we would do is to have a joy bank. Take those memories or those experiences that we know connect with the truth that we have and put them in that joy bank and bring them out when we need a little shot of joy. And memory is a wonderful capability that we have to be able to do that. So I'm getting to the how do I do that with each of these points a little bit. That first point, acceptance, was some kind of service. How do I do that? How do I accept what is? And sometimes it's turning around and giving service. But for affirmation, how do I do that? I think it's to use our affirmations and to make them up just to suit our unique situation, that truth that really strikes us, the situation that we're in our life. And so we form affirmations. There are many nice long affirmations, but I'm going to suggest that if the idea is to experience God happiness and express that into the world, use affirmations that are brief, that are right to the point. I've thought of a couple of them. One we talk about all the time. All things work together for good. How often do you say that? If that's what really seizes you, how about I stay the course, I persevere? How about I am strong, I live in the present? I know what I need to know. And of course, the one which goes with today, the joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy, that divine energy within me is my strength, that God happiness. Or even simply, I am God happy. I am God happy. But your particular affirmation, and as you think of it, and I'd like you to take this away and see if you can formulate an affirmation that's just right where you're at. Make it 6 or 7 words, no more. And revisit that again throughout the day. Affirmation does pave the way to the experience of God happiness. In my experience, there is an affirmation that I'm working with. Started working with it about maybe a month ago. And I speak that affirmation, and by the way, affirmations spoken out loud are the most powerful. And that's let it flow. Simple. And I say that affirmation multiple times every day because I want to see that energy of the divine flow to me, flow through me. So that's one that I've chosen, but you'll choose your own affirmation, and that affirmation will bring to you, that affirmation of truth will bring you, kind of put you in the path of joy that emerges from your life. And of course, we know everything emerges from within, so it's not like we're reaching out to get something, but we're affirming what the truth is already within us. And then finally, allow. Allow the flow, and this kind of fits in with where we were in terms of affirmation. Allow the flow of joy. Back to Jack Cornfield, and I like this that he has to say about joy. When we live in the present, joy often arises for no reason. When we live in the present, joy emerges into our life for no particular reason. You've probably had experiences like that when joy just came over you for a moment for no particular reason. Or if you haven't had them yet, you've got them yet to experience. So we put ourselves in the path of God happiness. When we do that, when we live in the presence, we look for a different perspective. Oh, we're so prone, I am anyway, to say, this is the way I think about things, and I continue to think about them again and again and again and again that way, but it doesn't work for me, but I still keep thinking that way. But I'm learning to look from a different perspective, to know that within me is maybe something different than the pattern of my life that I've been living out into the world. And I look for that perspective. How do we do that? I'll get to that for a moment. But one of the ways that is we experience here in this community is with Kindness Works for All, our kindness project. Rick put together a little card. I don't know if anybody's seen it. There's probably more of them back there someplace, isn't there, Rick? Thank you for your kind act. Expressing to someone an appreciation. Yesterday in our chaplain's meeting, another idea came up. How about if we've collected, many of us, many of these very positive and uplifting statements. How about if we put them on a card and on the reverse side put Unity of Payson? Kind of extending ourselves into the world. Expressing, if we will, God happiness. That's one way to do it. Joy, God happiness, to me is like a fountain. Like a big fountain. You go down to Fountain Hills and you see that big fountain. Many, many, many gallons, thousands of gallons of water in that fountain. And it just comes up and emerges into the world from beneath a great reservoir, as it were. However, sometimes it's necessary to clear the debris out of that reservoir so that it can operate freely. So that's part of it too. Allowing, letting go, releasing, allowing the water to come up, allowing the joy to emerge, putting aside, clearing out some of the things that impede that joy. So I really like this part of it. How do I do that? Somehow it came out in yesterday's Saturday Soul Boost, priming the pump for God happiness. Priming the pump for joy out loud. Remember I said speaking it out loud is important? Well, you can do it out loud in terms of your actions as well. And I put together a list of things, but you'll have things that you want to add to this list as well. Priming the pump for the joy may mean that you would smile. You might have to even hitch up the corner of your mouth to get that smile started. But you're priming the pump for the expression of God's happiness. Singing. I'll bet many of you know this. Oh, I'm in a singing mode today. I'm going to try to take my own counsel here. If you know it, join in. I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Down in my heart. Down in my heart. I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay, or today, or to stay, either one. So that's a primer. That's a primer for joy. How about shouting? There's a psalm that was written in the time when the community was in a little bit of trouble. Psalm 47. It says, "Clap hands, all people, shout with joy, with loud songs of joy." Shout. Do you ever shout? How about going out into, well, you might not want to do it at home in your neighborhood, but you might want to go out into the woods. You might want to go on a little hike and just shout. You'll be priming the pump for joy. Laugh. Do you take opportunity to laugh as much as you can? Do you watch comedies? Do you keep company with people with whom you can laugh? In my experience, that's really something that puts me in the path for joy. I love wordplay. So does my wife, Donna. And as we do gratitudes in the evening, inevitably something's going to come up that's a little bit of wordplay. And we laugh about it. And it's a blessing to my soul. Another thing I do is, well, maybe this isn't joy for some people, but I golf. And I golf with a group of men that have fun with each other. They're there to have fun, not to play golf and compete. So that's an experience where I am lifted as a result of that laughter that I experience. And it puts me in the path of joy. How about dancing? How about playing? How about a creative project? How about giving thanks out loud? Thank you. Have you ever been in a store and say, something comes to you and you just say, thank you, and everybody looks at you like you're crazy, but you're not. Well, give thanks out loud. I told you I was into music today. Some of you might know this one, and I just think the words of the song are simple, and another verse just expresses what we've been talking about, priming the pump for joy. The joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord is my... Oh, I'm not singing it very good, but I'm going to sing it anyway. The joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Jennifer, I hope you weren't listening. But anyway, the verse that I really like is, since you have this joy, you may shout with it. Since you have this joy, you may dance with it. Since you have this joy, you may laugh with it. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Acceptance, affirmation, and allowing pave the way to the experience of God happiness. And that allowing takes that form often of priming the pump, putting ourselves in the path of joy. Remember St. Lucy's Day? Still dark. That was actually celebrated on the 13th of this month, close to the solstice, but not quite on it. That darkest time in Sweden and Norway and Finland, that dark time. But in that dark time, an affirmation of truth, an acceptance of the dark as it is, and putting yourself in the path of joy by celebrating even in the darkest hour. Again, acceptance, affirmation, and allowing pave the way to the experience of the strength of God happiness. And so